Rocket Ride. And we're queued up. All right. So, welcome to This and That, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. When we get started today, we're going to be talking about reminiscing the difference between yesterday's Halloween and today's Halloween, because I know that times have changed over the past several decades, and we have gotten used to the way things currently are, but some of us actually look back at the way things used to be. So with that being said, I kind of wanted to do a show comparing the upcoming Halloween, because we're in September right now. Halloween is actually next week. So, well, not Halloween. October is next week. Halloween is at the end of the month. And I kind of wanted to go ahead and have a nice discussion today about, what's the difference between back in the day and today. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Make sure that you join the membership. For those of you that are watching us from TikTok, we have in the bottom right corner the subscription button. You can click the subscription button over on the YouTube platform and subscribe to the channel, get all the insight as to what we got going on, because we typically keep a 30-day pre-schedule set up on the platform. You get to see all of our longs and shorts up there and our merchandise. So definitely encourage you guys to take a look at that. Outside of that, for the rest of you guys that are on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, we have the opportunity for y'all to hit that link in the comment section that y'all see. You can approve the mic, approve the camera, bring you up onto the screen live, where you will then be able to communicate in real time on the podcast with your thoughts and opinions. We encourage you guys to put your 2 cents in, throw your 9 tails into the mix, and we would be able to have us a little powwow, like-minded or open-minded, open source content, because sometimes we don't always have all the same opinions, but a lot like last night's podcast, but we will be able to have a reasonable discussion about the topics at hand. For the rest of you that are on TikTok coming to the podcast, I know that some of y'all might want to dive in and give some shout outs or add some direct commentary to the podcast, give you guys the opportunity to do so. Now you see the invite up there if you guys are interested in diving into the show. Just make sure that you guys remember that we are live 7 days a week, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific. So just try your best to keep a weary eye on your notification button as to when we're going live. Great news. We got the dang blasted modem, the gateway for the internet. So little thumb gun is right here. It's like the same size as the stand for the other one. Remember, the other one was huge. So we got the little bitty one right here. Just got it hooked up not too long ago. They said let it operate, utilize it for 24 hours or so, and you'll start seeing increased speeds. When I got started with it, it was lower performance than the broken device, but it was still performing. So as I let it run and as I utilize it, it is starting to show presumably higher speeds than what it was when I started using it, but we haven't quite yet seen the full 5G high speed resolution. But they did throw me down the credit that we were talking about having, and then they're supposed to be throwing us into probably another credit on top of that, because it took a long time. I got 3 of them in the mail, got to send 2 of them back. So I'm like, oh, geez. But luckily I can drag it off to the nearest store and drop it off over there. So that's a good thing. Either way, let's get this show underway. For those of you that are still hanging out for our Halloween discussion. So for you Gen Zs, y'all technologically based, we used to have Halloween before they had technology. So way back in the day, in the 70s and 80s and then the 90s, the early 90s for you 80s babies, because typically you remember your Halloween when you were 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. So as an 80s baby, you remember Halloween from the 90s. And as a 70s baby, you remember your Halloween from the 80s. When you used to go places and a lot of the times you didn't have to go with your parents. You would just get dropped off in a neighborhood, and your parents might be just waiting in the car and let you go down the block and cover the whole block and come back unattended. There are other countries like Halloween that I mean, not Halloween, like Hong Kong, China, Japan, stuff like that, where the kids are completely independent for the most part, and they can just wander around at 11, 12, 13, 14 years old and go do what they got to do, take themselves to school and come back. It shows a lot more responsibility than what we've got today, where they have to be monitored on their way to school in America and monitored on their way home from school in America, because if not, they will mischievously get in trouble, or the fear of something happening to them from some adult that's not behaving correctly. And that's where we lead to some of the changes in the Halloween trends, because back in the day when we started doing Halloween, our earliest Halloweens was being able to go and knock on somebody's door without our parents, and being able to scream trick or treat and get a bag full of candy from complete strangers. In modern times, that situation has, for the most part, stopped. There is in some neighborhoods a little bit of knocking on people's doors and being able to, with an adult, and being able to ask for a little bit of candy. But these days we've got like stricter adherence to like safety and protocols. Back in the day, it was just take it as is. Sometimes they had like bowls of candy in the front yard, and they would have a little sign up there that says take one. I know you guys remember back in the day when it was pranking one another, they had the mild like jump out and say boo kind of stuff. That has gotten more extreme, but the ability to get candy has gotten less extreme for the kids. So I thought that was interesting to see the difference in dynamics between the way things used to be and the way things are now. Because when I think about back in the day, we used to have like 5 or 10 or 15 garbage bags full of like 65-gallon garbage bags full of candy, where we would canvass several neighborhoods, and me and my siblings, and we would go out there and we would conquer neighborhoods, not just like 5 or 6 blocks, not just let's go up this street and then go back to the house. We would literally spend 6 to 8 hours of the night just door to door getting candy. And we would have, for the most part, candy for the rest of the year. And mom would say, eat your candy. She would take the candy, she would package it up, put it into the fridge to preserve it, and we would eat most of it, most of what we were allowed to eat earlier that night or throughout the night, which gave us the motivation to run that 6 to 8 hour mission. And then when we came back to the house, we would conquer our spoils. We sometimes had Halloween trinkets and toys and stuff inside of the bags as well. And it was a blast being able to conquer all of the houses on the neighborhood and come out of those houses with scares as well as candies. In 2024, it's a little less. I mean, I think after 9/11, we had a big change with the ability, and some of the situations that led up to 9/11, we had a big change in the way that we went about doing Halloween, because there were more restrictions as to whether or not the candy was damaged or tainted. So going to strangers' houses without a parent wasn't a thing anymore. Going to random people and getting candy wasn't a thing anymore. And I think it really set the catalyst for the beginning of controlled Halloween functions. And then the events for the kids were less unattended for adults and more attended by monitored individuals. And then when we started dealing with the adult area of stuff, back in the day, way back in the day, we had moderate and modest costumes, where, you know, theme-based costumes that actually meant something, resembled a specific show or something to that effect. And it also sometimes themed to the house, whatever the house decor was. But now in 2024, you're going to be seeing some very, very extreme Halloween costumes. So we have 2 different styles of extreme Halloween costumes coming up soon. We have one extreme, because for some reason clowns are like the big hit in the last 4 or 5 years. So typically it the clown, and I can't remember the name of the other guy that's also a clown. Those guys are the most popular costume that you see, where those guys are out there with the sledgehammer or the chainsaw, and they are doing the scares. What we're seeing also, in addition to that, it's not just like the clown costume. We're also seeing the ladies that there used to be like a cheerleader outfit that was the sexy outfit, or a Laker girl or something like that, and now it's just it is definitely unorthodox these days. So what we're seeing right now with the Halloween costumes from the ladies is going to be skin tight leotards. They're going to be the sexy version of whatever superhero that they're going to get to be. So the female Wolverine or Harley Quinn or something like that, they're going to get some skin tight leotard. Or in some situations, like if they decide to be Mystique from X-Men, you'll see them literally paint on their costume directly onto the skin. So that costume, yeah, that turns a lot of heads because they're outside of pasties in all the right places. You're going to see a lot of what you're not supposed to see in modern times. And it was a lot more conservative 40, 50 years ago, 50, 60 years ago, where the costumes were more like either handmade or more traditional and modest to the sight of eyes. But now it's just a lot more extreme. So along with the female sexualizing the costumes that they have, the other half of the new costumes that we're going to be seeing in modern times is going to be the torturously scary guys are going to be out there doing such extreme costumes that we're going to be seeing in 2024. Some people are straight up buy an Iron Man costume, $1,500 helmet, buy the whole Iron Man suit. They have the visor that shifts up on command where you don't even have to touch it, and then it shifts back down on command. And then they have like a very interesting gadgets on some of these costumes, the Batman costumes and stuff to that effect. And I thought that was pretty interesting. But the idea, and I think we kind of lost the vision of what Halloween was supposed to be about. And that has so historically changed to the point where it just turned into just being simply about candy at one point in time, just getting out there and getting candy. And now as adults, you see it's an alternative solution to get drunk in a costume. So they are a lot more stringent about the adult way that we handle things in modern times. So what we're going to see different in 2024 is the party scene for Halloween. Since COVID, you still got, even though social distancing is not as readily enforced in 2024, you still got some people still masking up. You still got smaller crowds these days. You are going to still be able to see the sights. There are some people that are still extra when it comes down to decorating their houses for the Halloween, Christmas, and Thanksgiving holidays. So you may still be able to drive through some middle class and upper middle class neighborhoods where they have like a whole Halloween themed front yard. Some people are very creative with their erotic skeleton orgy kind of thing that they have out there, because some of these guys are really interesting with the way they put their decorations up. And to me, I feel like that's a lot of work. But for some people, like, they really do a good job of setting up their yard to represent that Halloween theme. And one of the things we're going to be seeing differently this year is going to be the effort that people are going to put into their Halloween theme versus the accessible equipment that people are going to be bringing towards their holiday theme. So with that interaction restriction that we used to have from COVID, you're going to see different behaviors with the decoration styles versus the scares for the treats versus the accessibility of the treats here in 2024. So this is going to be an interesting 2024, especially since we're looking at a lot of political changes. So we're going to be seeing a lot more behavioral changes in the population. I thought that it was one of the more intriguing years, to say the least, because with all of the assassination attempts for the candidates that we've seen in the past 6 months, people are going to be a lot more cautious about going out or allowing their kids to go out and enjoy Halloween this upcoming month. So we're looking at a lot more safety protocols. So with those safety protocols, I thought, hey, why don't we just, do that list of things that we should probably be thinking about for 2024, involving ourselves, our kids, our siblings. Let's see. Oh, I got a ding there. I was like, what was that? I had something pop up in the background. Okay, so sorry about that. I'm listening to stuff in my headset and I'm trying to figure out what happened there. Okay, so like I was saying, let's talk about some of the things that's going to be a little bit different in 2024 as opposed to our reckless behaviors back in the early 80s and late 70s and the early 90s. So here in line with 2024, we're looking at going out and trying to hit those spots during the well-lit portions of the evening time. We're not concerned about really trolling the neighborhoods throughout the night. There will be a few late teens, like 16, 17 years of age, that'll be going out trying to make it work. And some young adults out there trying to do their trick-or-treating between 8 and midnight, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. But it's not going to be nearly as active overnight as we used to experience when everybody, including their toddlers, was banging on doors at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, talk about trick or treat. So as a huge of an event as we used to have back in the day before all of the restrictions came about that really put a stop to us going out and having a good time for Halloween, in addition to all of the theme parks that are now Halloween driven, where a lot more people are going to a sanctioned location and having their Halloween parties and exchanging gifts and just buying the kids candy on sale, as opposed to going out through the neighborhood and having a Halloween event in your neighborhood where your whole neighborhood celebrates the Halloween festivities. That's a little bit different in comparison to before. I've also noticed that we are not really into the haunted house themes that we go to, but we prefer to go to that haunted house theme than we would prefer to actually be going door to door and putting in all this effort into getting scared by random people or going on to random people's property to try to get free candy. We're also very cautious about our kids that are between the ages of I want to say 2 or 3 years old and as old as 7 and 8 years old. So we're not really out there trying to risk all of the fears that have been embedded in us between 9/11 and COVID, and being concerned about whether or not the children have safe candy that hasn't been tampered with, or making sure that the kids don't get snatched up off the block. And even though most social interaction is online, we're also trying to evade and avoid potentially having situations where our kids get attacked for their candy. Because remember, during Halloween, there was always that one group or that one person that would come up and just knock you off and take the candy that you had acquired throughout the night, whether they scared you for it or they manhandled you for it one way or another. Some of us would lose our candy. Some of us would have to, Spartan our way to protecting our candy and making sure that we got our candy and brought it back to our house. Making a plan about that is actually very smart for the kids. If you guys have a plan of action, go out, knock on like 7 or 8 doors, bring your candy back to the vehicle, empty the bags out in that particular vehicle, and then go back out with empty bags and go try to tackle 5 or 6 more houses where you are staying within eye view of the vehicle that you're traveling in, and you don't have too much candy in your bag. Keeps you from being robbed by other trick-or-treaters, but it also keeps you from carrying a large quantity of candy at one point in time, where we were throwing candy on our backs like Santa Claus and walking down the street with this gigantic 65-gallon bag of candy. Yeah, that's not what you're going to see in 2024. You're not going to see somebody walking around with one or two huge bags of candy talking about they got that for free from going out and participating in the trick or treat method. One of the things that we're also going to see is because of the more sanctioned events, people are buying the Halloween Horror Night tickets. They're going to see Halloween movies. You're looking at Busch Gardens. You're looking at Halloween themes in Orlando, Florida. There's a few dozen themes over there in California. So people are actually planning trips to go to a specific location so that they can enjoy the Halloween evening in a specific location, which again is going to give you a sanctioned environment where you don't have the dangers of the food being tampered with or the candy having anthrax or anything like that in it. You're not going to be worrying about your kid being abducted off of the event location because everybody there works there. So, you know, you're looking at trying to find more ways to be a lot more safe, but you're spending a shit ton more money for Halloween in 2024 as opposed to what we used to be paying for back in the 80s and 90s. And that's not just from inflation. That's just from personal preference, because the amount of money you spent on gas might have been one tank of gas to drive around and get as much candy as your kids can carry. You might spend $10 on a roll of garbage bags, and hey, when y'all fill these up, that's all y'all get. And when we start running out of gas, it's time for us to go home. And that would be the limitations of your night. Some of the costumes used to be homemade back in the day. In modern times, very few people, men and women alike, sew for themselves or their children. So they're buying costumes now instead of making costumes. Creativity is not there anymore, because now if you want to look like Wolverine, you don't have 2 or 3 kitchen spoons taped to your forehead. You actually have the whole Wolverine glove with the real claws on them. You actually have the whole X-Men outfit. You don't have a yellow shirt with black stripes on it and you just put on a belt. You actually have the full Wolverine outfit on it. So imagination is not there. So we're actually going to see a lot of common costumes, because instead of us thinking about what unique character we would like to be and then create that type of costume, which was part of the Halloween tradition back in the day, was making your own costume, trying to get it to be as close to authentic as you could get it with the tools and resources that you had and your wild imagination. And people used to have to guess what your costume was. Notice when you think about back in the day, when you wore your Halloween costume, people would ask you, "What are you?" Or they would guess what costume you're trying to project. The adult parties and events where they have those who has the best Halloween costume, you have to guess or identify what costume they're trying to represent and see how closely to that character they actually represented their costume, and then the person with the best created costume would win. But the problem that you have with that is that, I mean, there's no genuineness in the fact that you went and bought yours off of Amazon. They're now selling Halloween costumes on Temu for cheaper than Amazon. You can get them from Walmart.com. You can pretty much go just about anywhere. We've got a few costumes on some of our shows that are affiliate products for Halloween, on a lot of our long form and short forms, and even you might see them streaming across the live right now for Halloween costumes, or you can just get them from anywhere. You order it, you get it shipped in, now you'll have it. They even have pet costumes, which is something that we didn't really have back in the day. We did not have costumes for our pets, like talking about it. If we really loved our animal, we might put some bumblebee ears on the dog, or maybe like a wing something on the dog's vest back in the day, and take the dog with us. Now they're a full on, you can dress your dog like a Shangan warrior. You can dress your dog up like a ninja. You can be a firefighter. It can be the Scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz. You can dress him up as a Tin Man, and it's like a legitimate go buy the costume. You just got to tell the person that what the measurements are for your animal and pay a $200 for a costume for your pet. $175 matching costume for yourself. $55 matching costume for your baby, and all three of y'all are dressed up as the Wizard of Oz, and you, your dog, and your child goes out there and, you know, walk on the yellow brick road. It's insane. But I think what I don't like about the difference between the way Halloween is now versus the way Halloween used to be back in the day is that you would spend quality time with your kids and you would spend quality time with your family members making your costumes, theming your house if you were going to decorate your house, and piecing the event together the weeks coming to the day of Halloween. And then once you put all that stuff together, you guys would literally take time off from work. You guys would not go by your friend's house. You might bring your friends with you. You might meet your friends out there at the neighborhood that you guys are going to go trick-or-treating in, but you would actually go places with your family and spend time together and enjoy the night, getting candy, having laughs, and really, really enjoying the night. It's not something that we're seeing these days in 2024. A lot more social distancing, a lot more individuality, very few traditional values, morals and ethics, and the costume designs. All of that stuff is out the window now. So in modern times, in 2024, what we're going to be seeing with our costumes are going to be, or not just the costumes, the whole Halloween event. You're going to be seeing Halloween plays, Halloween shows, Halloween roller coasters. You know, you got places like Busch Gardens that'll close early and then open back up for the Halloween event, where they're going to give you special tickets to come back in and be a part of the overnight part. But they don't have like the whole traditional, like full on decoration throughout the park. You're not going to be looking like Zombieland, where the theme park looks like the zombie wrecked the place. That's not going to be the image that you're going to get. It's just going to be a few faculty and staff members that are still in their uniform that might just wear a mask or have a little bit of blood coming down the side of their face that was painted on. They're not actually, thank you for the likes, guys. They're not actually going to have a large quantity of like full on authentic costumes these days. And I asked myself, like, what has the holidays come to? Because, you know, think about how we didn't plan on doing a Thanksgiving show, but think about what's going to happen for the Thanksgiving show. If we're going to be dealing with a bland, waste a bunch of money on non-genuine costumes where people just know what you are because it says it on the name tag. Like you don't have to guess. If I'm Deadpool, like I got a whole Deadpool costume. Well, most people are going to be Deadpool. You're going to see a lot of people that are just going to throw on a regular whatever, and whatever the most popular characters are this upcoming 6 months is going to be what you're going to see the most popular costumes being sold. But how do you like Halloween this generation, where you can walk down the street and 12 people got the same costume you got, and what if they fit it better? That's what sucks. What if they fit it better? What if you wanted to be the Hulk? You got the Hulk costume. And instead of you having the homemade muscles that fit your body and everything when your mom used to make your costume and made it fit you, and you actually look like the Incredible Hulk, what about the whole like leotard with the fake chest on it and the fake biceps? And then you have the areas that are kind of stretched out because you're not as thick as the costume is, because it's one size fits most. It's not actually made to your body size. And then you go out there and somebody else looks like goddamn Arnold Schwarzenegger or Scott Steiner or somebody, like a Bobby Lashley son of a bitch, that out there looking like fucking incredible. He just painted green on his arms. You just want to punch him with your Incredible Hulk glove so that when it beeps his nose, it's like Hulk smash. And then you're going to take off running because you know that guy's going to pulverize you. But it's the principle of the fact that back in the day, the ideas and the mindset that we had, the imagination that we had was so much more involved that you would not see the same costume between two different people very often. The costumes were so unique because you had to make it out of whatever you had in your house, whatever old clothes that you were going to have in your house. If everybody wanted to be a zombie, you would have 52 different designs of a zombie. You would not, out of 52 people, you would not have the same zombie design. If everybody wanted to be a vampire, you would have the only common thing that you would have about the vampire costume would be the vampire teeth. Some people would have the teeth with the blood on the teeth and the blood coming down the mouth. Some people would have the teeth and blood all over their body where they got attacked. Some people would have the bite marks somewhere on their body in different locations where they got turned. They would have a scar that they would put on themselves, and then had rip up some old clothes that they're not going to use anymore after this. It would be unique. But now you want to get a zombie, you go to the nearest Barnes and Nobles or the Todd and go and buy yourself a Halloween costume and just put on the costume. And some people keep the tag on it so that they can return it after Halloween and get their money back off of it, because they're not really trying to waste that kind of money, but they're going to spend that kind of money. And I asked myself, why did you monetize one of the best holidays that we've had? Because think about all the rest of the holidays we've had this year. I mean, instead of us valuing the troops more than we value football, all we had was barbecue. Labor Day was barbecue. We had a cookout. Again, Father's Day looks exactly like Labor Day, looks exactly like Valentine's Day. I mean, not Valentine's Day, Veterans Day, which also looks exactly like the 4th of July. It's just a fucking barbecue. Yeah, facts, exactly. So, but Halloween was like the first holiday where we did something other than eat barbecue and drink beer, because Cinco de Mayo got squeezed in there somewhere. And what are we doing on that day? Barbecuing. Juneteenth is the Black Independence Day, and what are we doing on that day? Barbecuing. It's like, what? Where's the tradition? Where is the authenticness of like the holiday traditions? Like outside Mother's Day, you're going all out. You're decorating the house, your roses and flowers and expensive gifts. Valentine's Day, you're going all out, your roses and flowers and expensive gifts for her, fancy restaurants. But for the dudes, that ain't shit shaking. We got a comment here from Keen took you in De Niro. Oh wow, that's a long name. Very unique. Creativity, by the way. He says, nah, it be like that, bro. It don't even change. We just be doing the same shit. You exactly right. We just and then so when you're doing something for the guys, it's exactly the same way as if you're doing something for the family. But if you're doing something for the ladies, we've got to have like streamers. There's got to be balloons everywhere. We got to have flowers all over the place. It's like a $700 night. For the guys, we're sharing $700 worth of stuff for like the 40 people that showed up. You're not going to get $700 nothing for the bros. But New Year's Eve is the only traditional holiday where it's solely designed to get hammered until the clock strikes midnight and then get hammered until the new year starts. But all the rest of the holidays were supposed to be unique. There was supposed to be something different there, and there is nothing there. Thank you very much. I appreciate your follow. When you're looking at Thanksgiving used to be the same thing as Halloween. You were supposed to overly decorate the house. There's supposed to be like turkey stuff going on, handmade arts and crafts, which was all about spending time with your family. It was all about spending time with your friends. It was all about putting stuff together and then bringing your ass home. That was the biggest thing about the holidays, was bring your ass home. I don't give a fuck what you doing. I don't care who you hanging with all year. You do whatever the fuck you want to do the rest of the year. But this is the time that you bring your ass home. And then we're going to spend time together. We're going to decorate the house. We're going to put up all of this stuff. It's only going to be up for a few days or a few weeks, depending on which holiday you're doing. And then we're going to work together to take all the shit back down and put it back into the attic or put it back into the shed. But the holiday was more about spending time with your family, not just buying this overly gaudy costume that people are only going to look at one time. You're not going to wear it next year, and God forbid you fit it next year. I see Barbie is up in here. Don't worry about it. Traditions of Halloween, Barbie says. All right. Yeah. Maybe because people don't know about the history of Halloween or the religious stuff behind it. There is a lot of stuff behind Halloween that is there was some religious incantations that was going on with that. There was supposed to be the celebration of the dead, passing over. There is a Spanish and Latino thing about that people don't actually really talk about as much, but you were supposed to be mourning and celebrating the life of those who had passed, your ancestors and everything to that effect. So there was a lot of stuff about that, but it was still, regardless of whether it was religious or ancestry, it was still family oriented though. And that's one of the things that they forget is that, yep, you got the houses here, bring your ass home. Yeah, it was about bringing your ass home. So here we got, what if Halloween was invented by the candy company? Well, let's look at Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory real quick, because you asked the question. You got to think, it can't just be about the candy. It is big business now. Where I live, a lot of Mexicans dress up for a Day of Dead. Exactly, the Day of the Dead. That is the different, I guess, the different outlook, but you're still dressing up in costumes and celebrating the passing of those that were lost. So you're celebrating with family and friends of the living. You're remembering and supposed to be reminiscing about those loved ones that you had lost. You're supposed to be doing family dinners. Some cultures actually cook a special offering just for the person who had passed that nobody gets to touch during the event. I don't know if they throw it away after the fact or if they eat it after everybody is gone, but I've got a plate, you've got a plate, and whoever died, they've got a plate too. And you're looking at like whoever's picture with the little incense up there, and the dish is sitting right in front of that person, and then the rest of us are sitting there eating the rest of the food. Like, that's the kind of stuff that used to happen, but right now it's just wasting a bunch of money. So when you say, what if Halloween was invented by the candy company, I would say that the candy company got involved with the Halloween because of our traditional giving out candy to the kids. But I think that they also industrialized the costumes as well, so that the people would start spending money on the costumes instead of making their own costumes, because people don't traditionally do the what were the feminine tasks, which was sewing and patching stuff up. Men don't know how to do that, because unless their moms taught them how to do that, and women don't want to do that anymore, and they don't have women these days that are teaching the kids how to do that kind of stuff. So very few people know how to even patch up their own clothes if they damage their clothes for work, much less make a whole outfit that they're going to wear for the holidays. So, and you're not going to get your girlfriend or your wife to do it, because that's just insulting to them, for them to be expected to make these types of outfits. So making the clothes kind of just faded out over the lack of traditional values that we've had over the past 50 years. So I think each one of the big businesses, including Hallmark, just dove in and exploited this for what it is, that people are going to spend money for this event, and we're going to do it in the most lazy way possible. So they said, oh, well, instead of you making your own Wolverine costume, go buy one. Instead of your Thing costume, go buy your Thing costume. And that's kind of where it turned into. So the question comes in, oh, we got some on both sides, y'all. So let's start with TikTok first. So if you go live, I'm gonna be watching. I gotta go. I am staying live for at least the next couple of hours. So if you dip out and come back, I'll still be here. So by all means, Keen, if you gotta go, you do what you gotta do and then dive back in. But we are live every night, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific. So when you pop back on in the next hour and 20 minutes, we're still gonna be here. So you go do what you gotta do and swing back around. As soon as I see you, I'll shout out to you. So back to the YouTube question. Do you believe that the veils between the living and the dead is thinnest on Halloween? That is what we hear. We also hear that the 3 a.m. is the witching hour, which is also the thinnest line between the living and the dead. The people who like to play with Ouija boards can conjure up spirits and interact with the dead. I'm going to be honest with you. I've never tried it myself, so I can't say for sure if that is a guaranteed fact. But what I can say is that if you mess around with some of that stuff, you might find out. And from what I hear, the dead is not friendly. So if you get out there tampering with stuff that you are not prepared to do something with, because dead people can't take bullets, so you can't hit them with the Glock switch. Dead people, they already dead. What are you going to do to them? So if you conjure up something that is going to haunt you for the rest of your short life, because they typically, from what I've seen in the horror movies, is that once you bring an evil spirit or unfavorable spirit into your household, that you end up in a position where that spirit convinces you to kill yourself without actually doing it for you. So I'm going to say, try your best not to maintain that type of involvement with the spirit of Halloween, but definitely make sure that you try to bring your ass home and spend some time with your loved ones, your family, your friends. Bring them over to the house. The girlfriend or boyfriend that you never really told them how you really felt, you want to get over there and go try to spend some time with them and let them know that you're important. So there we go. So I don't. Halloween. We talking about Halloween, and we got stuff going on with the computer. It took me out and put me back in, and got it's buffering and shit. This is I start talking about the dead, and then weird shit start happening. So hold on. He said Halloween is so commercialized. If we did some research, it would have a deeper meaning to do. Same goes for Christmas. People got penguins and snowmen in front of their yard. I'm gonna be real with you. When it really comes down to this right here, penguins are not part of Christmas. There is no reason why penguins are supposed to be in Christmas. Christmas was really and truly Christmas was supposed to be about you expressing your value in someone else by doing a grand gesture of kindness towards somebody else. And that was actually the gift giving idea. You wasn't really supposed to be doing a gift giving idea by just buying something expensive and giving it to this other person to make them feel like they're important. But Christmas has changed to people feeling like they're validated by what they receive from somebody else. And Christmas has been selfishly designed the same way Thanksgiving, with giving thanks for stuff, where you're not actually appreciating the shit that you have. You're only just recognizing that you got shit. Because if you're sitting around a table talking about all the best things about your life, you're supposed to actually be valuing the people that you are around. And you are supposed to be celebrating the value that you have in those people, not necessarily wasting time and effort with all of the stuff that's going into that in and of itself, as far as the holiday is concerned. So Christmas has a huge holiday, and if we was to dig into it, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. I'm actually going to do some digging, do a little bit of research, and hopefully before Halloween I should put up a show that goes into the true observations of Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, and what they were really supposed to be about, as opposed to what we got going on right now. But I am going to tell you, for the sake of saying it, while we're on that particular topic, that no, Halloween does not have anything. I mean, not Halloween, Christmas. Christmas does not have anything to do with the true actual birth of Christ thing, because your boy was born in freaking June and July. So if you go back into biblical times and you look at when he was born, it was freaking summertime. It was not wintertime. It was not snowing when that little baby was in that manger. It was they did not have a all of a sudden heat wave when the baby in the manger was born. So for the fact that it was a sunny day in the Africa where everybody was at, and then all of a sudden now we've got snow with the baby in the manger kind of situation with all of these animals here, and now they're trying to make it seem like everything happened on Christmas. It's a publicity stunt. I'm going to try to do some digging, and I'm going to try to piece together this information so that I'm giving you accurate assessments. But you are right that if we dug a lot deeper into the origins of where this stuff came from, we would actually see that there's not only more deeper meanings, there's more deeper values and expectations from traditional heritage that we have long since forgotten. And the true meaning of it is so commercialized to the point where it's all about spending money for a event that we're not even spending with our family anymore. We're spending the money with people we don't know. We're spending the money to impress people we don't like so that we can feel like we are important because a certain quantity of people came over and observed what we had going on when we decided to host this party. So we're really only enjoying ourselves for this Halloween, Thanksgiving, or Christmas party because of the quantity of people that showed up to our house that's going to eat up all of our stuff, drink up all of our stuff, throw stuff all over the place. And then the day after the holiday, we are going to be sitting there cleaning up our own fucking house because in America, people don't clean up behind themselves after they go to somebody's house party. They leave stuff all over the place. They can't find a trash can to save their life, and then they take their ass home, which is why people are traditionally leaving their houses now and going somewhere else and enjoying Halloween somewhere else because they don't got to clean up. They don't have to set up nothing. They don't have to cook nothing. They don't have to spend a bunch of money on drinks. If you paid $20 to get into this Halloween party, but you're going to drink $100 or $200 or $300 worth of alcohol to make up for the $20 you spent to get into that building, you're going there to drink for less or drink for free. You're going over there to turn up with people that you don't know and hope to God that somebody doesn't do something stupid while they're intoxicated and fall off of something and break something and then end the party because somebody got hurt, because it ain't a party until somebody gets hurt, right? So do I think an atheist can celebrate Halloween? That is a very interesting question to have. I'm going to be honest with you. When it comes down to spending time with friends and family, the particular day to do it on that particular holiday does not have to mean that you believe in whatever the history of the holiday is about. And it does not necessarily need to be you believing in whatever the meaning of it is today is. If you guys are going to dress up like cats and dogs or dress up like the sea monkeys, or if you remember the dinosaurs with the little baby that said, "I'm the baby, gotta love me." If you guys are gonna dress up in costumes and play tricks on one another like a second April Fool's Day, and you don't necessarily have to believe in what's going on in order to have fun with your family, to celebrate the fact that you have your family, because you're not the as we discussed already, that the true definitions and the true meanings and the true values behind it is long since lost and forgotten. And we should definitely do a show to cover that, what it was originally about and what it is now. But the fact is that since what it used to be about and what it is right now are not the same thing, you are not necessarily celebrating Halloween for the beliefs and history behind Halloween. What you're doing is you're celebrating on this day with the people that are around you, whether they're family or not. So do you have to be atheist to have fun with your family and friends? Do you have to have a religious background to have fun with your family and friends? I mean, if you are atheist, are you forbidden to really go and participate in being scared at a really lame haunted house where one of your best friends got a job at that haunted house? So when you walk up, you know it's them because they're wearing the same outfit they were wearing when they left your house and said they were on their way to work. Like, do you really have to believe in the holiday in order for you to go out there and have fun with your family members? I would say no. I would say that regardless of your religious beliefs, that you should have the opportunity to, at some magnitude, be able to enjoy yourselves on every recognized and unrecognized holiday. Matter of fact, I have been making it a point over the past year to start finding out the holidays that they're celebrating over there in Asia and see if I can try to throw it in to my day-to-day operations with my family so that I can have more reasons to enjoy stuff with my family. Not because I believe that Asian holidays are better than American holidays, but I also believe that if we can waste a bunch of money on a $600 fucking Iron Man costume, that we can waste a little bit of money on a 30-foot long paper mache dragon and march around the backyard with it. So, I mean, can we have fun more often than not? Can we celebrate other cultural holidays on the same day? Yeah, we could. You could actually get to a more worldly view with your children if you are showing them how other countries celebrate the same holiday. So instead of you just throwing back a bunch of Budweisers every year, you might want to crack open some hot sake this year. Instead of you getting your turducken, where you're shoving a duck into a turkey and then basting it with a Bush Eisenhower, you could go and get you something from a different country. You can start celebrating holidays, traditional meals from other countries, traditional values from other countries, and then learn something. Maybe you might like it. We don't have family traditions. We don't have hereditary values anymore. The value that we have in our own family name is so lost that people can monetize themselves on OnlyFans, where back in the day, we would not be able to do certain things because we did not want to shame our family. We did not want to disrespect our family name, and we would not allow other people to disrespect our family name. So we would fight for honor and respect, and we don't even have dignity right now in current Western culture to say that we would even stand on honor and respect. And the most habitual behavior that we have right now is going to our favorite talk show, podcast, watching our favorite television show, watching sitcoms, stuff to that. That's the only thing that we do on a regular basis. But what tradition can you think about that you've done with your family in the past 5 years that you've done every year without fail? Since COVID, what traditional values have you upheld with your family since 2019? Since before COVID, can you think about one thing that you have not changed since your childhood that you do with your family and your loved ones on a yearly basis, on a specific day every year without fail? I can tell you, can't think of shit. So you ask, can an atheist celebrate Christmas? Well, fuck, the meaning of Christmas, when you start throwing penguins into fucking Christmas, the meaning of Christmas is gone. So, I mean, there's the meaning of Christmas is not about celebrating the life and the birth of anymore. That's what people say that it's about. But if you think about when he actually was born, like I was saying earlier, he wasn't even born on freaking December 25th. So, I mean, the fact is that you're really celebrating receiving gifts because it's more selfish than it used to be about you giving to somebody and showing value and appreciation by giving to somebody. The meaning of Christmas was supposed to be about giving. The same way you're supposed to be giving thanks at Thanksgiving, you're supposed to be giving a gift of gratitude to somebody. It wasn't about how many gifts you got. It was how much you was able to show somebody else that you value them. And showing them that you value them wasn't about spending a bunch of money on a gift. It was about doing something that let them know that they were important to you. So the more people that showed you that you were important to them, the more you felt important. And that's when it started becoming selfish. But it wasn't about that back in the day. So, yeah, we do got to do a lot of digging and get the core values behind what that was about. But since it's all about buying expensive stuff and giving it to the people that you know, and when you're doing Christmas shopping on a budget, you've got people that are passing back and forth cheap gifts. Oh, it's got to be a max $20. And then you got this one fucking asshole that shows up to the fucking Christmas party and does the PlayStation 5 that they give to somebody. And you're like, dude, it's supposed to be $20. That's the shit that we're dealing with right now. We don't have traditional, it's not going down that way kind of, yeah, we're going to stick to the rules. So can somebody who's an atheist go out there and enjoy Christmas or Hanukkah? You know what? I actually kind of like Hanukkah a little bit better than Christmas. I kind of want to incorporate Hanukkah and Christmas together. And the reason why is because I get to open 12 of my gifts before Christmas Day and then open the rest of the motherfuckers after. And I like the candles. The tradition behind the candles does not have to matter to me, but I like the way they look. Values out the window. So can we get in there and knock it out? Can I And yeah, I have a Jewish background, a German background, a African American background, Native American background. So can I sit here and have a Thanksgiving where I'm cursing out the Pilgrims for taking my ancestors' land? Of course I can. Can I have a Thanksgiving where I'm pissed off at the colonists for tricking my ancestors into that free Caribbean cruise and ended up over here building America on the backs of the blood, sweat, and tears of my ancestors? So of course I could. But I could also just be saying, you know what? I'm so glad that you were able to fly into town, and I am thankful that you took time out of your workday so that you can come and spend time with me. That's what it's supposed to be about. That's not what it's about now, though. So you got another question up here. I'm bouncing back and forth, y'all, because we got TikTok comments, we got YouTube comments, some Twitch comments thrown out there. Red Void, what's going on, buddy? I always wondered that, can an atheist even be affected by evil spirits? Because if they don't believe in that stuff, it wouldn't affect them, right? Okay, so let's segue into that logic. Let's segue into that logic. If something exists, whether or not you believe in it doesn't stop it from affecting you. If the lights in this room exist, whether or not you see those lights on the podcast or not doesn't change the fact that those lights exist. The lights go out, you will know because you're on the podcast. But if you're not on the podcast and the lights go out, the lights still went out. Likewise, whether or not you believe in evil spirits or whether or not you believe in angels or devils doesn't change the fact that if they really do exist, whether or not they fuck with you is only going to be subjective to their desire to fuck with you. Some people have subconscious beliefs or historically taught beliefs that random things like gods of mischief and stuff like that make your important, valuable stuff that you put down on the counter just disappear out of nowhere and then reappear out of nowhere, like the elf on the shelf, where bullshit happens in your house and you blame it on this little doll that you put on your fireplace. I ask myself, if this little fucker can move around my house and fuck with my shit and move stuff around and Chucky his way through my whole house, why the fuck would I buy one and put it in my house? But you ask yourself, if that is the idea of the entertainment behind that particular little doll, you put the elf on the shelf, somebody in the family takes the elf off of the shelf and moves it somewhere in the house and puts it in a different pose so that you guys can have a little entertainment. Where the elf was above the fireplace, now the elf has got his foot up and he's trying to drink out of the milk in the fridge. That entertainment of you walking into the fridge, like, how the fuck did this thing get in here? Like, that laughter is the whole gesture behind the theme of this particular doll. But if it really is some sort of satanic little elf going around fucking with shit, I mean, if that's a thing, then it's going to happen whether you believe in it or not. People did not believe in Chucky until their head got cut off. But I mean, the doll's got a knife that came out of the kitchen. People don't have to believe in satanic things to believe that Annabelle, if you mess with Annabelle, you're not going to make it out the night. Like, fact is that an atheist can let me just circle back to this atheist situation, because the majority of people were raised with fundamental core values that typically stem from biblical beliefs, whether they want it to or not. Because if you were born into a religious family, their religious belief was forced upon you until you were old enough to say, I don't want to do this anymore. So your logic and reason, your moral compass of good and bad, ethical and unethical, stems from originally whatever religious background that you were brought into as a kid, whether it was your family, your friend's family, the local church that pressures you to do stuff. So even though you claim to be atheist, I have never seen an atheist not pray to God when they were in a world of shit that they couldn't get themselves out of. So if you did not believe that God existed, if you did not believe in devils and all this other stuff, then you would not be able to say, oh God, oh God, oh God, Lord help me, Jesus Christ. You would not be able to say these things because you didn't even, that would not be a part of your dialogue because you don't believe in it. So your question about would they be affected by the evil spirits? Look, if there's an evil spirit in the area and there's uniformly fucking with the people nearby, if you're nearby, you're going to get fucked with it, whether you believe in it or not. They say that don't go into the graveyard during the witching hours because the dead walk the graveyard. If you're going to go, you're an atheist. You don't believe in that. You walk into that graveyard and your friends start getting their limbs ripped off. Just because you don't believe in it don't mean that your limbs aren't going to get ripped off too, because logic dictates, even when you start talking about religious and ethical beliefs, logic dictates that if something exists, it exists across the board. If it's going to fuck with you is determinable about its desire to fuck with you. So asking me if an atheist believes in spirits and would those spirits mess with that person just because they don't believe, it's like saying, well, if a vegan doesn't believe in bears, that you go into a forest and a bear is not going to rip your nuts off because you covered yourself with honey. If the bear is in the area, it's going to rip your nuts off because you covered it with honey. That's how that works. So moving along, she said, yeah, my coworker got because how did this work? Because I didn't want to participate in the gift exchange for Christmas one year. Yeah. Your coworker got mad because you didn't want to participate in the gift exchange. Yeah, fuck them. I'm not trying to waste money on gifts for motherfuckers that, you know what? At your job for Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas, the gifts that I want you to give me are paid days off. That's it. I don't want shit else. And for my whole job to put their money together and give me a fucking day off, that is all I'm asking you to do. And don't call me that day. That is it. So can we and think about it now, because most people aren't making $20 an hour. So if you've got that $15 or $18 an hour job and they're talking about, oh, we're going to do gift giving and it's going to be a $20 minimum. So that means that the 10 of you can all give me $20 and then I can take the day off and not have to come to work. Right? Because that's 10 people, that's $200 fucking dollars. And if you're getting paid $15 an hour minus taxes and they give you $200 cash from the crew so you can take a day off from work, now you can go to get you some sleep. Back that bitch up with 2 back-to-back days, you got a 3-day weekend. And if you work 4 days a week where you're working 4 days and off 3 days in a row and they give you that extra day, now you got a 4-day weekend. That's a fucking holiday. That's how you show somebody that you value them. Sitting over here talking about oh, I want you to be in the gift so that you can give them something, or even worse, because they're crushing on you, right? So they want to get you something so that you can know that they like you without tipping off everybody else that they like you. I ain't got time for that shit neither. Fuck around and be in HR for some Halloween gifts. They be bullshitting. I don't got time for none of that. So you was thinking Christmas, wow, is it just about the presents, Yeah, Christmas is not about presents at all. It was never supposed to be about presents, but it became about presents. And like I told you, when Christmas starts becoming about presents and fucking penguins and snowboarding, all this other shit, like I'm still laughing at the fact that I understand that we started with a white America, so I'm not going to question the fact that Santa Claus is supposed to be white, but I'm sitting over here thinking about the fact that you told me when I was 3 and 4 years old that this old ass white dude with a huge ass beard with a really, really big stomach, barely can fit through the door, has the capabilities to shimmy down a chimney and leave me free shit at my house. I knew that was a lie when you told me that story. But that's how they're going to explain to us gift giving. You would have did better telling me that a lean brother slid through the back window because he had them lock picking tools and popped the lock on the back window, came in there and dropped some shit as he was trying to run off with my TV, and I just so happened to get some free shit. That would have been more believable. But the Grinch Who Stole Christmas was green, which is the reverse of Santa Claus now. So wait, now I've got, can you tell me how safe is your house if you've got one man breaking into your house, leaving random shit for you? See, there go Keen, he didn't pop back in. You got one person breaking into your house while you're sleeping, leaving random shit. Then you've got another person breaking into your house right after him, stealing all the shit that the first guy left. You're supposed to wake up oblivious to all of this bullshit, and for some reason, you're going to be sad that you got robbed of shit that you did not pay for if this is supposed to be given to you from a stranger. Can you explain to me the logic of how that shit works? And then, so Barbie says, I still went to the gift exchange and this girl got a bag of snacks. Look, baby, you get me a bag of Doritos, I'm Gucci. I ain't even trying to front. I don't really give a shit about the holiday. If we're at an office party, this is the one time I should be allowed to drink on the job. So if you don't have a White Russian, we can make a White Russian real quick. And you don't even, we got the creamer in the fridge. I brought the Kahlua. All we got to do is just spike it and throw some cubes of ice in there. We're going to get fucked up today. So I didn't really come to the Christmas party at the job to actually get gifts. If I brought a gift, you said that it's supposed to be under $20, $20 a person. There's 20 people here. That's $400, right? I just got a $400 big ass bottle of some Kahlua. I'm going to get everybody fucked up. That's going to be my goddamn holiday. That's I ain't even trying to pass stuff around. The memories that you remember after you black out and wake up the next day in the boss's office without your clothes, that's what I went for. I went for the memories. Because when we talk about at the outing, the training outing that they're going to have with the managers, and we start talking about how Ted from accounting was upside down backwards in the boss's chair, and that wasn't even the funny part. The funniest part was Brian from the tech department peeing in that same chair before the other guy fell face down in it. That's the kind of stuff I want to remember. That's the kind of stuff I want to talk about. Look at these photos, Eric from the mailroom making out with the Christmas tree. That's what I want to be sitting over here talking about when we start talking about having good times with the holidays, bro. Like, I'm not sitting over here trying to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars to impress people. I want to remember this holiday because the like shit happened that I enjoyed. Like, whether I made an ass out of myself second, because I was only raised to not be the first person to make an ass out of myself. I was not raised to not make an ass out of myself. Just don't be the first person, because everybody remembers the first person. That's the person who made the party live. You don't want to be the first person. What's up, Brad? So the second, third, and fifth person nobody really talks about unless you do something really extreme. But the first person that makes an ass out of themselves, that's the person that broke the ice. Everybody stops with all of their inhibitions, and they're just like, it is what it is. So where am I from? Well, Brad, come out of Louisiana. And I wasn't in Louisiana when they passed that law about castrating folks. I got out of there as quick as possible. So, but yeah, it is very interesting to me that people go out there, UNC wilding. Yeah, I am wilding, bro. Uncle wilding. I'm out here throwing it down, bro, because, like, first of all, for those of you who are still in Louisiana after they talked about castrating folks, I just want y'all to be thankful that you didn't get it got yet. That's gonna be your Thanksgiving thing for this year. For the rest of y'all that y'all wanted to dress up as something scary for Halloween, Dress up as some of the government officials that are castrating everybody in Louisiana, because that's some scary shit. You thought clowns with sledgehammers were terrifying? Talk about some crooked politicians with scissors. That's fucking scary this year, because they just passed that law not too long ago. And I was talking about that on the show. Actually, I think it was the second or third week of August. I was talking about how they just passed that law, but they're vasectomies and hysterectomies. They're catching the women with the giant ice cream scoop and they're fish hooking them, and the dudes, they're just running in there and they're just like, cut it all down. Thoughts on the election? All right, y'all. He gonna spin the conversation to the left. Thoughts on the election? Well, I already told y'all Project 2025 was gonna happen, and ain't nobody got no choice in it. I already did a long podcast where TikTok was red flagging me for a while when I was doing it, because they thought that I was about to go left field about it. But no, I just talked about how the dark money never got stopped. The fact that the dark money was influencing the political process, and whether or not it does officially impact the political process or not, I can't say one way or another, because they don't want me to throw out conspiracies, and they don't want me to give you false information about the political process. But when lobbyists throw big money around and impose on the process can go in ways that you don't want it to go. But with Elon Musk on Donald Trump's cabinet, you got multiple billionaires with the same views on the same side of the room. It's like money talk, and people's opinions don't matter. So we're gonna see, from my expectations, not because I want to, but because of, one, how the polls are going, because two, the man got shot at twice and hasn't died yet. So he outdid Tupac, because Tupac survived the first time he got shot up, didn't survive the second time he got shot up. He almost up there with 50 Cent, because 50 Cent got 9 times in the face. He only got 2 times, and he only got him 1 time in the ear. So he still got like 8 more rounds to take and be able to outdo 50 Cent. But he had no problem with doing a political campaign where he's walking out onto the stage with Mini Men as his intro music. So yeah, that was reckless in and of itself. But you asked me, what is Project 2025? Project 2025 is a situation where they're going to be taking a proactive approach against the LGBTQ community. They're going to be taking a proactive approach against pornography, where they're going to be illegalizing pornography. So OnlyFans is going to go out of business shortly after they get their feet on the ground. Anybody who's paying for pornography right now, Project 2025 is going against that. Outside of those two things that don't affect the average American person, they are dismantling the educational system. So you're not going to see second-tier loans. So after you get your bachelor's degree, there's no more government funding. They're not going to be doing loan forgiveness anymore. So if you haven't paid your loans off yet, you're going to be paying full price. What else they said? They're going to be bottlenecking Social Security. If you are not officially disabled, they're going to expect you to get your ass out there and work. They are not going to allow you to slide into food assistance through the TANF program anymore. So if you don't get food assistance because you qualify for it from extreme poverty levels, or you qualify for it from being physically disabled, they're going to shut you down on food assistance. So you can't just get food assistance because you're in the TANF program. They are also going to be doing away with what was the other one? Oh, the Social Security disability is not the Social Security disability. The Medicaid and Medicare is going to now be privatized. So you're looking at upward of $750 a month for, I do believe it's A and B, which is called Plan C. And then if you also add the extra $60 or $75 for Plan D, which is the medication, instead of the U.S. government paying for the Medicaid and Medicare, you're going to be paying for it out of your own pocket. Take into consideration those disabled people that, yeah, I am streaming on YouTube right now as well. I am streaming on YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok right now. That's what the picture in picture is, my dude. That screen right there, that's the other 3 podcasts on the show right now. So you guys are on TikTok. I'm also streaming on YouTube and Twitch and sometimes Twitter. So all at the same time. Yeah, and I had to get the bigger modem to have the higher processing speed so that I could do 2 streams at the same time. Thoughts on the Diddy situation? I'm gonna get to the Diddy situation. Let me finish this Project 2025 situation that you asking me about. So where were we at right now? We were talking about the Medicaid. So after they finished putting everybody into it's heavy. It was 950 something pages. So imagine how I had to read that before I did the show on it, because I actually did a podcast about this in August, talking about Project 2025. That's when TikTok was going nuts, because I did a whole podcast about how the new policies from the Republican Party was going to negatively impact 99% of Americans. The rest of it was, so y'all know he just did the last campaign stop where he said that y'all not going to get taxed on y'all overtime hours. That's a lie. So technically it's not, but officially it's a lie. So here's the thing. They have 2 tiers, and you already know this is one of the reasons why you already know that what they said they're going to do is already going to get done, because if you got TurboTax, go check your emails. They just told you, oh, new tax brackets to combat inflation for 2024 in force now. Take a look at what they are. It's going to be what you're going to be using for 2025. Guess what's happening, y'all? 2 tiers. 15% for everybody under 168,000, 30% for everybody over 168,000. And they're doing away with local and state tax deductions. So if you are in a state that does not have local and state taxes, you ain't got to worry about it. But if you're in a state that you're required to pay local and state taxes, then you're going to pay local and state taxes, and you're going to pay federal taxes. You're not going to get any deductions on your local and state taxes. So even though you're getting 15% across the board instead of 25% for making about 55 to 75,000 a year, you're still not getting those deductions. So while you was getting 22, 24, 25% in those higher tier areas, and then being able to get deductions to reduce the quantity you had to pay and still potentially get you a return, they're doing away with that shit. You're getting 15 across the board though, and that's why you're likely to not see taxation on your overtime hours, because if your flat rate 15% until you cross over 168,000, if your tax bracket goes from 45,000 to 55,000 because you put in a little bit of overtime, you're still getting hit 15%. You're not getting hit a lot more because you're now doing time and a half. So you went from making $15 an hour to getting an extra $7.50 an hour on top of that, and now you're making what, $22.50 an hour, which puts you into a higher tax bracket. There is no higher tax bracket anymore. It's just the 15% across the board. So you're not going to see increase in taxes because you're going into overtime. Where, remember, back in the day, you had to work 3 to 5 hours of overtime before you started seeing the increase of overtime hours on your pay. That first 2 or 3 hours of overtime, you would see just a larger quantity of money taken off of your check, but your paycheck stayed the same, probably went up $2 or $3. But that second 5, 7, 10, 15 hours that you put in, that was a huge increase on your paycheck. Not no more. Now, because it's a flat rate 15, if you get that little bit of increase, it's going to go way up, and you're going to see that improvement, which is going to encourage you to go and do overtime. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on one of those businesses, big businesses that hasn't switched over to AI yet, that is putting a cap on overtime hours, how the fuck are you going to get overtime hours when they ask you to come to work early and stay late working for them throughout the week? Then towards the end of your work week, they tell you go head home early because they got a cap on overtime. So how much overtime hours are you really going to get? But that tax change that they had, that's going to be one of the other things that they're doing. They are increasing tax deductions for C corporations, but that doesn't do anything for individuals. So all of the tax deductions they're going to have for that 20% flat rate for C corporations, you're not going to benefit from that unless you have a C corporation. And then the other question that they're going to give you is the higher earners, which are people who are stocks and bonds and everything like that, Bitcoin, stuff like that. You know, what rich people can afford to do, they put their money into that. And that situation will now, it used to be, I think, almost 28%. They shaved off almost 13.8% off of that. So you're not getting taxed as much for your stocks and bonds and all of that investment interest that you're getting back for high earners. So if you're making a few $100,000 or a couple $1,000,000 worth of interest off of your investments, you don't have as much of a tax requirement. And you still got, because it's a C corporation, you still got tax deductions that can wash that away. So you still don't have to pay taxes on your high earners. Everybody else that's below $168,000 a year, you're paying for the country with no benefits from the country because they're doing away with all of the governmental benefits. So that's Project 2025. Now, you asked me what are my thoughts on Diddy. Before we dive back into our Halloween topic, you asked me what are my thoughts on Diddy. He got 30 plus 1 years, bro. He going under the jail, bro. As old as Diddy is right now, he gonna die in jail before he get out. He is not gonna be able to really do anything else. There is no way for him to get the 80% work release because he has a 20-year stint and a 30-year stint, and they're gonna add 1 extra year to his 30-year stint. So he's guaranteed to do a minimum of 30. He not getting off on that. Now, what do I think about what he did and how he did it? Who do you think was involved with the freak offs? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. They got a lot of people that speculate Like everything just dropped. So I'm sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. The whole, we had a flash with the internet just now. That was wild. So we're back. Look, hey, on the YouTube side, the podcast was just streaming. So you were asking me, like, I think somebody got mad when I started talking about the freak offs. Like, I don't know. You asked me who's involved with that. I don't know. I want to do a lot more digging about those freak offs before I start trying to talk about some of the allegations that's going on behind that. But I can tell you that while everybody has their own. See, look, it says learn more about the election at the bottom of my thing. I wasn't supposed to be talking about the election on the bottom of my podcast. I was supposed to be talking about motherfucking Santa Claus and Halloween and the Grinch who stole Easter bunnies. That's what we're supposed. There we go. Now they're gonna change it. See, when I start cursing them out, now they're gonna change it. I told y'all, bro. See, as soon as I start doing too much talking about as soon as I start talking too much about politics, they switch my whole fucking podcast and turn it into a podcast about politics. I don't even give a shit about politics that much for me to be trying to talk about politics. Ben Affleck's ex-wife. Now you're just asking me random questions. First of all, his ex-wife is attractive enough, and she gonna get all that because I mean, when they divorce, they you know, I say don't get married. That's what I say. Not a good idea. Don't get married. Prenups only go so far. You're probably gonna need 7 or 8 of them motherfuckers. You want to write in the ex-girlfriend. You want to write in the side chicks. You want to make sure that you have like all. You want to have a clause with a voluntary surrender where if she decides to divorce you, that she ain't getting shit. But nah, I ain't trying to do all that. Nah, like, do you think she got? Well, I mean, I don't know because I wasn't there. So did she get diddled? I mean, I don't really know. Like, to be so. Here's the thing, in publicity, in the media, just like what happened with Michael Jackson, just like what's going on with Diddy. Diddy did what he going down for. People accuse Michael of doing stuff. Not too many people know if he did or didn't do it, but out of the people who admitted that it didn't happen versus the people that got paid off to not say anything else about it, you only can assume that he did it. When you start talking about whether or not somebody diddled with somebody before they were grown, like the people who made claims against Bill Cosby when before Bill Cosby got big, and now that Bill Cosby's trying to buy NBC, now they're taking all these legal actions against him. Did that really happen? Oh, like LeBron said, ain't no party like a Diddy party. Well, bro, like, first of all, LeBron is a garbage basketball player. 51.2% from the paint. So, I mean, LeBron don't really, I don't take his word for nothing. Now, Kobe would have said some stuff. I would have been like, all right, Kobe talking. But they have this thing, like Mystical went down twice for it because he'd be going to them parties. And I learned from the mistakes of other people that you don't want to both created a teammate, though. I mean, he got handed the whole game and some, and the bleacher seats and everything like that from Stephen Curry. So I mean, he very creative on the team, though. But I'm just like, nah. Stats wise, if the man, 1 out of every 2 shots that he throw up in the air going into the net, regardless of whether or not he got coverage. And you got to understand that basketball these days is not the same as basketball back in the day when people used to run back and forth. See, and Barbie's asking about crumpets, so I'm about to start talking about crumpets in a second. When they be running back and forth on the court and used to block, they don't block anymore. So you're looking at a different atmosphere these days. So LeBron can be the best of the garbage that is still on the roster. But when you start saying that LeBron is the best of all time, just because Kobe doesn't have a pulse doesn't mean that LeBron is better than Kobe. And it doesn't mean that he's better than Michael because Michael retired. It doesn't mean that he was better than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar back in the day when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had a better record in a shorter period of time. Just because LeBron James is he is not the GOAT, but people say that he is. So I'm like, nah, LeBron's is garbage. Now, when you start talking about ain't no party like a Diddy party because anything could happen at a Diddy party like a swingers club, and like Justin Bieber is a bottom because of what happened at a Diddy party. If you're in those photos, you were there, and everything that they said in Diddy's trial happened at Diddy's party. You were there, whether you were Will Smith or Ben Affleck's ex-wife, and it was happening. So them mansion parties be going crazy. But real quick, she asked me, do I know about Crumpus? I got a lot of knowledge about a lot of stuff across a lot of different areas, but I'm more of a jack of all trades and a master of none. So I do not have the full information about Crumpus. Barbie, can you enlighten me about Crumpus? And I can definitely give you my 2 cents on Crumpus. Now, when it comes down to the LeBron James, not LeBron James, the Puff Daddy bodyguards that was telling everybody about how stuff happened in the red room. You don't go to the red room at Diddy's house. People who went in the red room who could say that they seen what happened in the red room. I mean, you didn't just see it; you was a part of it. You can't tell me that you was involved in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and you saw what happened, but nothing happened to you. Like, what's the red room? Oh, the red room is a lot like, remember Jamie Foxx used to say about the champagne room? That's where everybody used to make the magic happen. Yeah, that's the red room. Typically, it's a red light, and it's a room that's probably got a lot of silk and velvet and all kinds of stuff all over the place, swings and all kinds of leather outfits and everything like that, where people will interact with each other on an adult fashion. And some people will come out pregnant and the others will come out with STDs, but that's the red room. So yeah, that's a whole nother level of I'll be gosh dog. I do not co-sign at all on that. Oh, look, it's gonna give me back my, they ain't shit for real. They trying to give me back my stream. I already logged back in. You ain't got to get it back to me over here. They play too much. They play too much. See, when you had me start talking about the politics and stuff, that all the technology started defecting. Oh hell, you're talking about that movie Crumpus. All right, hold on. That is some shit that I want to see. I want to see anything that's got something to do with some creepy ass Christmas stories. So, all right, Barbie asked me about the Crumpus. And what is the Crumpus supposed to be about? It's a Christmas comedy horror film. I don't care if it's comedy, it is Christmas and it is horror. Now, I know who made the Crumpets, because I know that when they did Scream, not Scary Movie, I was down for the whole fucking Scary Movie genre. I was bouncing back and forth between Saw 5, Final Destination, and Scary Movie, because that was some hilarious shit. Matter of fact, when I used to watch Scary Movie, I used to go back and watch the movie that they did the parody skit from to see how accurate they were to the comedic skit based off of the real movie's information. So this movie is supposed to be about some guy named Max. He lost the spirit of Christmas, and then it unleashed the wrath of Oh, this is like Scrooge. Okay. And then they're supposed to be turning this into demonic beast in ancient European folklore is going to punish naughty children. So he's supposed to be entertaining himself with finding the spirit of Christmas. That is interesting. Yes. So Brad, yeah, damn, the Diddy dungeon is real. Yes, the Diddy dungeon is real. Yes, them rich people do some of the freakiest, freaky. And look, Hugh Hefner was the only person to do that, not go to prison for it. Diddy tried to replicate it. You got to understand, it don't matter how much money you have. You do got to have a good tan, Diddy. And you are not going to tell me that you can do what Hugh Hefner was doing back before they had extra laws on it. So, so here we go. She's saying Crumpus takes bad kids and make them good again. I don't believe that. I believe that Crumpus kidnaps them like the Pied Piper. He said didn't have to whip them back into shape. I mean, I believe that there was something going on. They were smacking them around. At a convention, there was a guy dressed up as Crumpus. He had bells that would jingle so you knew when he was near. That is not as creepy. He even had a fake child in a cage on his back. That was creepy. And you know what would have been creepy about that? If that wasn't fake, if his like niece or nephew voluntarily decided to jump in that fucking cage, that would be some creepy shit. You say, what did Hugh do? Okay, so Hugh Hefner had between 20 and 50 Playboy bunnies. And the same stuff that was happening at Puff Daddy's house was happening at Hugh Hefner's house. People was paying to get into Hugh Hefner's Playboy parties the same way people was paying to get into Diddy's parties. The only difference is that Hugh Hefner's parties had adults only in it. P. Diddy's parties allegedly did not. There were some that were still in high school, hadn't made it to high school, stuff to that effect at Diddy's parties. So that was kind of the other difference between the two. And then you said, oh, yeah, I already read that one at the convention. Okay, so do I think that Beyonce is a witch? Okay, so no, not witch with a W, maybe with a B, but not with a W. Her and Nicki Minaj, as attractive as they are, I think they got some really fucked up attitudes. But I'm not rich, so I don't have to interact with her. But if I was rich, I would be like Will Smith, Jada Pinkett. I have to be in another house because I would not want to have to deal. Did you see the shit that Jay-Z had to go through when he was getting his ass whooped in the elevator? I know I saw it. Most of y'all should have seen that. But I don't give a fuck how rich we is. Your sister starts jumping on me in the elevator, you and your sister gonna be catching some, because I'm not about to get. I don't understand why women believe that they can beat on men and it is okay. Y'all say that Chris Brown punching wives in the face is wrong, but when Simone was whooping Jay-Z's ass, everybody was like, "Get him, girl! Get him, girl!" I don't get that. I think that it's equally wrong for that female to fight Jay-Z in the elevator as it was equally wrong for Chris Brown to throw his girlfriend down the stairs after an uppercut. I feel like it shouldn't happen. So what kind of conspiracy theories do you think are real? Well, the ones that you don't believe. That's the reason why they keep messing with my goddamn podcast when I start telling y'all all the ins and outs of Project 2025. Because the shit that I be talking about, people don't want to believe it, and the right to censor comes up and shuts down my whole podcast and start interfering with everything that's going on. Because do you believe that my unlimited 5G network is spontaneously going to start defecting as soon as I start talking about this one political platform that is going to happen? Now, the whole other hour and 20 minutes of this podcast, nothing went wrong. But as soon as I started going into details about that, all of a sudden my podcast starts glitching out. Y'all got to reconnect. They did not disconnect the feed. So it's the same feed. It's just I wasn't on there. You had to get back on there. Why do you think stuff like that happens? They had to buffer through it and make sure. I might get put on a terrorist watch list just because I'm talking on a podcast. I don't care. From what I understand, that you ain't doing something right on a podcast if they don't put you on a terrorist watch list. So if I end up there, at least I won't get pulled over on a regular basis because they'll be watching me to do something stupid. But look, if I've got the FBI and the CIA watching my podcast, that's a few hundred people watching my podcast on a daily basis. I'll blow up with all those people watching the live podcast. Go ahead, get in there. So make it do what it do. So Brad says, go more in depth. I'm curious. Okay, so I'm not gonna touch on any conspiracies during the live podcast today because you got to understand that they do have some community guidelines with relation to certain podcasts. So when I find some safe discussions that I can talk about on the podcast, that's not going to throw me into the don't watch list like Andrew Tate, then I'll start talking about some of that stuff. But I am going to tell you that things that happen in this country, things that happen around this world, when it starts being talked about and then the information, the news starts being changed halfway through, numbers start being reduced, body counts start being reduced, people who are saying stuff is happening is being locked away, and nobody wants to listen to them. They're being written off as crazy, stuff to that effect. These things are things that happen, and whether you believe it or not, the whole concept of conspiracy is the refusal to believe the truth. So people write off conspiracies as if it is a lie or as if it is a fabricated a piece of information, but that's not the case. Typically, people who do not have the clout or the financial backing to make a statement says something, and then somebody else comes back and tries to discredit them by calling them crazy and claiming that their theory is conspiracy. So when you ask me about Area 51, and then I'm gonna go over here by Barbie's question. When you ask me about Area 51, it is a location that does exist. They got stuff over there that's going on that does exist. Do I think that aliens exist? Uh, First of all, what kind of aliens? Are you talking about the little green Martian guy from Looney Tunes, or are you talking about the ones that come here without? Are you talking about the ones that come here without passports? Because if you're talking about the ones that fly down with the hovercraft that doesn't have wheels on it, yeah, Star Trek wasn't made from nothing. And Barbie says, I feel like there are two classes of Satanists: the ones that just want to be different, like going to the con, wearing dark clothes, then the hardcore ones that drink people's blood to stay youthful. How do you feel about crystals? All right, so y'all on two different sides. When we start talking about the people who are pretending like they fucking with some shit that they're not supposed to be fucking with, on top of the fact that whether or not that's real, if it is real and they're conjuring up stuff and they're ruining their own lives, or if it is fake and they're pretending like they're conjuring up stuff because they ain't got nothing else better to do with their lives, or those people who really believe in the devil and say that these people are selling themselves to the devil for fame, like Beyonce and all those other people with the Illuminati concepts that go around. Fact is, I know that blood tastes like metal because when you get into a street fight and you bite your tongue and you taste that blood, it tastes like metal. I am not trying to drink a cup full of lead. I don't give a fuck what color it is. Those people who do that stuff, I'm not going to tell them that they're wrong, but I can tell them that it probably would benefit you to put some sugar in that and sweeten it up a little bit because that's very bitter. I would prefer some diabetic blood if it would go down that road. They got some people that do the extremes, and they got some people who don't do the extremes. Um, how do I feel about crystals? Crystals are pretty. Crystal balls, do they see the future? It really depends. Do they have people with mystical powers? It is possible. Can they see the future in the past? It is possible. I am not going to weigh in either way on that because I'm not going to say that something doesn't exist because I haven't seen it yet. And since I haven't seen it yet, I can't tell you that I know firsthand that it does exist. I can say that the possibility is there, and I am not closed minded to the possibility. When you say, Brad, do I think aliens are here? Well, if you believe that aliens exist, you would have to believe that aliens are here. If you believe that they're making military black sites for capturing aliens and test sites and stuff like that, the Bermuda Triangle that's supposed to be allegedly a crash UFO at the bottom of the ocean near Bermuda that is compromising the polarity of everybody's compass and causing them to crash their ships and transport back to the 1940s and all this other weird stuff. If you believe that stuff is happening, if a ship crashed, something was on it. So presuming that it survived because they have better airbags than the Tesla does, then of course they're still here. Do they look like us? Do they look like Asians? I mean, I don't really know. I haven't seen one, but I know that they don't go to the hood, because if they went to the hood, then we would have spaceships in the hood, because we would steal one. We would hotwire one of them sons of bitches and put some switches on it and put some underglow lights on it if they didn't already have one, and we would be block burning around the neighborhood with the latest spaceships. So I mean, you know. Barbie asks, speaking of aliens, I heard there are real men in black that protect us from stuff like that. I mean, the CIA are technically men in black because they're a bunch of men wearing black suits with white shirts and black ties. So how far off from the truth? Okay, let's touch base on this, since y'all are asking me some really, really interesting questions. Let's touch base on this. Y'all do realize that TV is a form of transmitting messages across a wide area, right? And you understand that movies and shows that have concepts that are claimed to be fiction and science fiction, this is where your conspiracy come in at, Brad. The fact is that these things come to our eyesight for us to take in information while being entertained. Back in the day, back in the 80s and 90s, they would put stuff in commercials. They would put stuff on TVs, in cartoons. It would be part of the plot. It would be part of the dialogue of the characters that would release to us certain types of information that we would accept and understand without conflict. And then when it became a thing, we wouldn't be afraid of it. We would have a lot of knowledge about it. We would be able to correlate real life activities to what we've seen on TV and movies. But people turn around and say that TV and movies aren't real. So when you ask me about the Men in Black, and then you talk about like CIA, and then you start talking about military black sites, and then you start talking about whether or not aliens exist. I mean, what happens behind the closed doors of the CIA that I have never seen is equivalent to the same plot line of the Men in Black movie, where there is a group of agents that say and do stuff that most people don't see or hear about, that nobody talks about, that they scrub the internet on, and stuff happens. So you say there's supposed to be lizard people that can shape shift and control the world. I don't know about that. You're asking me about how corrupt is the CIA. I also don't know about that. So when we start talking about if lizard people shape shift, you would only know that lizard people are shape shifting when you see a lizard person, or you see somebody shift from one person to the next. The concept from Men in Black is that aliens that have different eye structure, they blink vertically where we blink horizontally. So if they were shape shifting or wearing a human meat suit, that their normal eyes would not blink, or if they did blink, they would also have an extra blink from their vertical eye. And if you've seen some weird stuff like that, then you would be able to determine that that particular person is not necessarily from where you think they're supposed to be, and that would be an issue that you would have to tap dance around. When it comes down to how corrupt is the CIA, my opinion of law enforcement as well as the government is that about as much as you see on social media is about 1,000,000 times worse off of social media. So can you be taken from a place and brought somewhere when nobody knows where you are and nobody can hear you scream? Yes. Can they do things to you that is against constitutional laws? Yes. If you are considered a terrorist, they can do things to you that you are not supposed to have happen to you because you are an American citizen, but because you are considered a terrorist of the country, those laws do not apply, or they're less recognized. Yes. Can you be tortured until you no longer have life? Yes, that does happen. Yes, it is possible. Do they do it on purpose? I don't know. Do innocent people get caught up in that type of stuff? Yes. Is it intentional? I don't think so. Are they biased in any way, shape, or form, where they're deliberately snatching up people because of their culture or ethical background? No, I don't think so. Can you be misidentified and be snatched up? Probably so. If you give them enough information to satisfy what they're looking for and voluntarily allow them to wiretap enough of your shit for them to find out that you're boring as fuck, then they'll leave you alone. But if you withhold a lot of information and stand on your constitutional rights that you believe that you have, when you don't look at all the rights that you forfeit when you are deemed a criminal or a terrorist of the state, then you will be not recognizing all of the bad things that can happen to you. So I recommend, when it comes down to that particular style of concepts, is for you guys to remember to accept the worst, hope for the best, and take whatever happens in between when it comes to that. Barbie asks, do you think September 11 was an inside job? I think that it was intentional. I do not believe that it was an accident, because you cannot tell me that you can watch everything that everybody does from everywhere, but you couldn't see two planes en route to a specific location and not do something about it. Likewise, when it comes down to that, their retaliation to that wasn't to go over there and drop a Hiroshima-sized bomb and annihilate the whole state or the whole country. They went over there and came back with hundreds of years worth of oil. So my expectation as to what you went over there for is based off of your results of your efforts. If you went over there and you reduced their population size by 97% and you came back with nothing, then you went over there and you regulated. If you went over there, you took out one or two people, and then you spent $13 million a week for several years rebuilding what you destroyed, and then you come back with years of barrels of oil. My expectation of that, you went over there for oil. You didn't go over there to protect the country from mass hysteria. But I don't really know for sure. I can only speculate. But I can't say that you went over there for the sake of my safety when, you know, my package was on that plane and I didn't get it. So, yeah. Do you think the multiverse is a real possibility? Multiverse. Scientifically speaking, when you start talking about linear planes, when you start talking about the Mendelian effect, when you start talking about multiple different decisions, having multiple different possibilities that stretch across a fabric of time that alters a person's destiny, and then depending upon the difference in choices, you could either be alive in one lifespan or not alive in another lifespan. I can tell you that the possibility is definitely there. And if you're thinking about time traveling in an across fashion versus either going forward or backwards in the same timeline, that the idea of a multiverse or multiple different universes that are all existing in at the same time, where you can transfer from one to another, I believe that that is possible. But I also believe that the multiverse concept is a form of recreating something that has already been created, like the multiverse for DC, the multiverse for Marvel, the multiverse for anime characters, because they do not want to compare the current product to the original product. So they make a spinoff of the exact same thing, or remake or remaster the exact same thing, and then put it back out there, and they will declare it as a multiverse scenario, so that in a different timeline, the rules are not applied to the same rules that were applied to the original concept. So Goku Black was Goku being eliminated by somebody who then took his body and then went to another multiverse and then tried to attack Goku, instead of that person just coming over and taking over Goku. I mean, when you start dealing with multiverses, you really just admit to a breakdown in the plot and the storyline, and you just have no way to justify it. And you're trying to put together a bunch of what ifs for the fanfare and entertain the fans while still trying to tell a linear story. And it's just becoming very difficult. So they'll throw up multiverse concepts in your entertainment to help explain the unexplainable. So Barbie says, they will stop you from bringing a big bottle of shampoo on a plane, but they can't stop a terrorist attack. It's weird. You know, it gets worse. Okay, so let's talk about what they're gonna stop y'all from doing when y'all start going out there trying to travel. If you take more than $10,000 with you, they will steal your money from you and call it drug money and tell you if you come for it, they'll put you in prison for it. So if you bring $10,000.52, you can likely lose your $10,000 if you have it in cash. I recommend that you travel with cashier's checks. I recommend that you go there with just enough money to open up an account in the country that you're planning on flying to, and then wire transfer the rest of it. Stuff to that effect. But flying somewhere with $40,000 in a briefcase, that is some Tony Vassetti from GTA 3 behavior, and I wouldn't recommend it. I would not be trying to go anywhere. Really and truly, like when you start talking about going on a plane with a big bottle of shampoo, you have to also understand that people used to put bombs in shampoo bottles. They used to put chemical agents in shampoo bottles. So all of the negative things that people have done over the years, which is why I was doing today's show and how Halloween has changed so much, is the reason why there's such strict rules and requirements that people have to adhere to for day-to-day operations. In order for us to be safe, we have to be overly cautious and really abandon all of our traditions and values because we're not capable of existing without fear. So when you start talking about the shampoo bottle, why do you need a jumbo shampoo bottle to travel to another country anyway? Let's just be real. Like, how long are you going to be gone that you need an oversized shampoo bottle? Like, how many ladies, how many of y'all wash your hair twice a day? Like, for real. How many of y'all have real natural hair going down your back that requires you a gallon jug bottle of hair shampoo? And then when you think about it, the size of the bottle is the problem, not the quantity of bottles. So why are you bringing an oversized bottle of shampoo when you can just bring you 30 individualized bottles of shampoo? They're not going to compensate those. The little 1 ounce, 2 ounce bottles, you can have 75 of them fuckers. They're not going to confiscate those. But the one big ass like liter bottle, yeah, they'll snatch that. It's weird about what they do. Like Naruto, then Baruto. Yeah, exactly. Like Naruto and Baruto with the multiverse conversation. He asked me, what is my thoughts on global warming? It's fucking hot. What do you think? Hey, when you start asking, what are we doing with global warming? Pollution is a thing. It always exists. Electric cars are not helping our environment. It takes 20 to 25 years worth of pollution to create an electric battery. Electric cars last 3 to 5 years, 10 years if you don't get into a car crash, 1 to 2 years if you get into a car crash. And the battery, you can get the battery replaced, but it's usually, depending on the model, 50,000 miles up to 150 or 200,000 miles for the total lifespan of the electric car. And then you got to buy you another battery, which does another 20 to 25 years worth of damage to make. So you're not really helping the environment. It is a status symbol. It is going to save you future money on gas, but you're paying an extra $20,000 to $30,000 for an electric car, which is the equivalent of 2 gas-powered cars. So really and truly, you're not saving any money. You're just spending it up front and then not having to spend it on the back end and getting a $7,500 tax credit that's actually deducted off of the sale price of the car. So you don't actually get any money back, but now you're driving a Tesla. Just saying. Global warming wasn't Camilla Harris talking about some global warming shit, but she's got the fucking hairspray. I don't know, man. Aerosol cans are supposed to be messing with the ozone layer. It's getting hot, y'all. Y'all been seeing 125 degrees in Florida. It's hot out here. So y'all understand that it is not as cool as it used to be in the summertime back in the 80s and 90s. Some people can say it's because of the planet shift. Others are going to say because global warming is getting worse. I don't think that we should focus as much on what we're doing about global warming as to why the fuck do we have 65% of water on this planet and we're only using 1% of it as drinking water, and Americans are using reclaimed water in our city water system. So when you go get you a cup of glass water out of the faucet, that's piss and shit that's being processed through chemicals and pumped back through your water line. Why the fuck are we doing this like we're a third world country when you could be taking some of the fucking glaciers from the North and South Pole and melting them fuckers down and filtering out the sodium and give us some fucking fresh ass spring ass Beyonce alkaline bottled water kind of shit instead of giving us reclaimed water. Let's be real, y'all. We don't prioritize. Here we go. Never flown, LOL. That's just an example I came up with. No, your example is right, but with your example, the people actually do that. They'll go and buy them like a big ass $22 bottle of Neutrogena or Tresemme, or they'll take their shampoo bottle out of their bathroom and they'll put it in their bag and they'll take it with them, and then they'll complain because they won't let you take that on a plane. Why the fuck can't you just take your shampoo bottle, get those little 1 to 2 ounce bottles of shit and fill up 15 or 20 of them fuckers and pack that shit up and take it with you instead of taking your big ass bottle of Tresemme with you? Because it's the size of the bottle, not the contents in the bottle. That's all they're acting an ass about. She says, do you think we can live on Mars? Fuck, we live in fucking Florida and California, and them two areas are hot as fuck. Yeah, you can live on Mars. You can live on Mars. You can live on Venus. I think you can't really. Saturn is supposed to be a gas planet. So, I mean, outside of that particular aspect of things, I believe that is possible. The difference is over there is that they do not have the wildlife and the plants but they did see at one point in time signs of organic life and signs of water and all of the basic molecular compounds that are required to create a planet equivalent to Earth, but it would require somebody to cultivate it. Was Mars once populated with life so that it would be capable of sustaining life now? And if it was populated with life once before, what happened to it that it's no longer populated with life? Was it because it got closer to the sun, or was it because they just kept mining the planet until the planet was no longer inhabitable? It's a good question. I don't really know. I wasn't there, but yeah, I believe that. But I also believe that with the way our economy is in the world these days, that the top 1% will go live on Mars as a status symbol, and then the rest of us will stay here on Earth. And then we're gonna have Gundam. Y'all remember that anime Gundam, where the species was attacking itself, and they were treating them like they were aliens because they were from another planet, but it was the same human species as to travel somewhere else and colonized it and was sending stuff. That's exactly what we're going to go through when that happens. You're going to have 20 or 30% of the population go live on Mars. They're going to make it seem like Mars is a different species than Earth, and then Mars and Earth is going to go to war with one another over territory, the same way North United States attacked the South United States in the First World War. That's what I think is going to happen there. So Barbie's thing is, will there be Earth law then Mars law if we populate it now? Yeah, of course there's going to be Earth laws on Mars until Mars succeeds from Earth's authority, and then Mars would be its own society, and that's when Earth and Mars would start warring with one another. How big do you think the ocean actually is? They said the ocean is 65% of the planet. There is Earth below the ocean, but above that is ocean. So it's a lot. I think it would be a lot. Barbie asks, it would be like the movie. Yeah, exactly. In a Gundam, they live on colonies in space. Yeah, they do live on colonies. There are a few dozen animes. So just think about this. When we think about things like the zombie trend, when you think about the animes that are talking about those Gundam style robots like Power Rangers, where they're fighting all these other species on other planets, any entertainment based storyline that is across multiple cultures is a fact turned to fiction. So, Brad, when you ask me about conspiracies, what conspiracies exist, anything that you can find that is the similar story being told in multiple different cultures is a historical fact that has been turned into a fable, turned into a fairy tale, turned into fiction that is no longer believed by the current population, because the truth is passed down from generation to generation. And once the truth is so many generations removed from a historical event, it starts becoming fiction. It stops being believed by the general population. A lot like nowadays, people are starting to say that Hitler was not the mastermind of the genocide that occurred back in those days, that actually he was put up to it by the rebel factions that were happening in Germany. And that was their explanation as to why he doesn't have blonde hair and blue eyes, but he was convincing a bunch of blonde hair, blue eyed people to take out people who didn't have blonde hair and blue eyes. Oh yeah, okay. So that was the last statement from Barbie, and that was the last statement from Brad. So guys, I love this because I got y'all bouncing back and forth. Y'all trying to keep me busy with all these questions popping up from on both of these different podcasts. I'm gonna wrap up the show today. Oh wait, hold on. Barbie's got one more. Was he talking about the hollow earth theory? There's a strong possibility about the hollow earth theory that was that's actually being enforced. But when you think about the hollow earth theory, that theory is a historical fact that actually did occur in historic times that people are just not going to believe. It's just a lot like when he talked about, a lot like when Brad was talking about the multiverse. It's just that it gets written off by the general population. And once it gets written off by the general population, anybody who starts talking about that is a conspiracy theorist. And when that individual becomes written off as a conspiracy theorist, if he's not being red flagged by the FBI because he's 100% accurate, or at least 80 or 90% accurate about a lot of his information, and they're going to want to know where he's getting his sources from, because these are government secrets that are not supposed to be released to the general population. If that's not happening, you have the alternative where everybody disregards what he's saying and calls him an idiot and makes fun of and heckles him because he is putting his thoughts and opinions and his understandings of the information that he's observed out there for people to take in and absorb. But when you start thinking about that, and you start taking into consideration the ideology of a prophet, which is somebody who is supposed to come and tell you about the stuff that you are supposed to know before it happens, where you can prepare yourself for what's about to happen, and you don't believe this person because you don't know who he is, and he does not have the clout or the integrity for you to respect his position. I mean, those atheists who don't believe, if a prophet came down and told them that the second coming was next week on Wednesday, you wouldn't believe it. It's going to be written off as a conspiracy theory. The person is going to be written off as being crazy. And up until it happens, up until waters turn to wine, up until the sea is turned into fire, up until the blue waters turn to blood, up until, 2/3 of the population gets wiped out, nobody's going to believe what was being said until it actually starts happening. But just like the story about Noah's Ark, where he warned everybody that this was going to happen, and you got to understand, it took him years to build that boat by himself. Nobody believed him, and only a select few actually got on the boat before it was time, and the rest of the people who disregarded him drowned because he kept telling them that the flood was coming, and he built this big ass boat, and nobody believed him. And it was too late after the fact. So I tell people, believe what you want. I'm not going to tell you that your opinions are right or wrong. I am going to tell you that I do have a rational understanding of the information that I come across. And my beliefs are my beliefs, but I am not going to try to badmouth any one entity about their processes specifically because of my individualized beliefs. But I am going to tell you that the truth is that if somebody's doing some fucked up shit, oh yeah, I'm gonna call out that shit because it's fucked up. That's probably what it is. But will I draft up a conspiracy about some stuff I know nothing about just for the sake of views. Nah, I don't have the patience for that. I do not have the mentality to get out there and call myself trying to start something that's going to have a few men in black with a flashy thingy come to my house and hit me in the face with some shit. Now I'm in the trunk of their car being dropped off in another state, black site, where I don't know what fuck's going on and my family doesn't know where I'm at, all for the sake of saying something on a podcast. No, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. I do not want the government powers to come to my house and raid my house and take all of my valuables as evidence and then string me up to some conspiracy. Nah, I ain't got time for that neither. But what I will do is I will talk about the things that shouldn't happen that does happen, and I will talk about he wants me to explain time travel. The theory of time travel is that you technically you can travel forward in time, but just by going up against the time zones, and technically you can travel backwards in time by going to different time zones, from the concept that time doesn't stand still. However, there's some pretty in-depth theories of time travel, and I'd probably have to do like an isolated show about the theories of time travel to really get into the in-depths of time travel to be able to get you to understand what the concepts are about it. But the idea is that you can travel backwards in an already existing timeline, but you cannot change the timeline that you went back in time on. That if you change something in that timeline, that you end up in a different timeline, like it forks over to a different decision and now you're in a different timeline. That's the theory. As far as traveling forward in time, hypothetically, you could travel forward in time in an already existing timeline to see what hasn't happened yet. But you also have to remember, if you travel backwards in that same timeline and make any changes in the decision-making process, the timeline that you saw no longer exists because you made different decisions. So there's a lot of details in line with that. He says, Brad says, sorry, man, I'm on that special plant, if you know what I mean. I don't really mind. I really appreciate the interaction from you guys. We talk about this, that, and everything in between on this podcast, hence the name, this, that, and everything in between. As long as it is reasonably appropriate conversation, I have no problem with discussing it on the podcast live. I just will not deliberately cross over those community guidelines. So if there's some information that we're discussing on the podcast that might draw some red flags, then I will definitely make sure that I let you guys know that I'm not going to go too far into that. But I will make sure that I let you guys know of at least the stuff around it without crossing over those community guidelines, because as a live podcast, I do have censorship obligations that I have to deal with. So our right and freedom of speech is not as willingly provided to us like we demand, because we're utilizing somebody else's platform. So I can say whatever I want to say, but I can also get shut down for saying it. So just got to be careful with that. Will you talk off stream about things that go against guidelines? I have the ability in the members only podcast on the YouTube channel to have unsolicited conversations that the podcast would probably allow me to air, but not allow me to air on a public fashion. And that would require my members only shows to occur, where we will be talking in like a dark live stream about stuff like that. That would occur. I don't see that as an option on TikTok right now, but I mean, TikTok, we just started using TikTok as of recent. So there's only a few hundred people following the TikTok. I'm trying to get that TikTok stream key. But on YouTube, we got almost we got a little over 14,000, which was still a small podcast. And we do have a membership option over there for me to do some dark conversations, some off the grid topics. And I will be getting into those off the grid topics as I increase the membership of the podcast for those that want to hashtag and bounce back and forth off of our ideas and concepts from a non-monetized members only podcast. yeah, I have no problem with talking about it off the stream, but the stuff but there's also still some community guideline stuff I can't violate there either, but it's less restricted because, the ads that you see that's running across this live podcast right now, for those of you that are catching ads, that is paying for the platform. So I have ad sensitive stuff I just can't talk about during this particular type of public podcast. But the private podcast for the members only, yeah, you guys are paying for the membership to have unrestricted conversation. We're going to be having unrestricted conversation. That's what we do there. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys coming to the podcast. I do got to tap out tonight. He said, what do you think about Drake versus Kendrick Lamar? You're going over every concept that I have covered on my YouTube podcast already. Well, with the exception of time travel, I haven't covered that one yet. But the Project 2025, the Diddy Show, the Drake and Kendrick Lamar are specific topics that I covered with one of the fans that came on as a co-host for quite a few episodes, Mr. Pibbs. And I talked about a lot of things about Drake and Kendrick Lamar and Chris Brown with his can't talk about my ex. It's going down first sight and hashtag first sight. And I've been talking about his ex ever since. It just hasn't happened yet. So I think that what Drake and Kendrick Lamar did I think that they took the rap game to the wrong direction. I think that they should keep their personal views outside of their music. I personally believe that what they said about one another, whether or not it was true, was damaging their character and their integrity. And you should not say and do things to deliberately damage the character of somebody else in order for you to make yourself famous, or get views or sell records or CDs or whatever. I also do not believe that the magnitude that they went through with taking shots at one another and digging deep into one another's personal lives should have been promoted by the fans. I also think that it is hilarious that address actually has 13 registered previous owners, but if you look into the history of the house, those people don't live there now. So while Kendrick put that up there, taking shots at Drake, I mean, it hurt the record label. It didn't hurt Drake's ability to buy an $88 million house, where Kendrick Lamar does not have a $10 million house. So, I mean, some people say that Kendrick Lamar won that rap beef, and I feel like both of them lost because they degraded and devalued each other to the magnitude where people lost respect for both of them. It doesn't matter if you like one over the other. The personal business that they release from those people, you think of those people differently, and I believe that nobody should do that with or to anybody else intentionally. I notice that it happens in politics a lot, but I believe that you should talk about the policies. So with that, when you start talking about Drake versus Kendrick Lamar, if you believe that you're a better rapper, you should just put out better lyrics. You should not talk about the person's family. You shouldn't talk about the person's personal life. You shouldn't talk about the person's personal choices. You should be a lyricist. You should be able to blend words and use haikus and use bars to be able to represent whatever message that you're trying to deliver. Go back into the era of reality rap where people talked about the concepts and things that needed to change that nobody wanted to listen to, and pitch that instead of devaluing one another. And then when you stop devaluing one another, you go back to rapping about crime, sex, drugs, and wasting your money. Why don't you do a rap song about how to invest money, save money, and build generational wealth, as opposed to rapping about taking your paycheck and instead of paying your bills, going to the club, drinks on the house, charging it to the Underhills, spending a bunch of money on women and buying expensive cars and stuff to that effect, when you're not going to be able to take any of this stuff past the IRS running off with all your shit like they did with MC Hammer. So, I mean, you can file bankruptcy after you finish living a life of a music artist, not having the money that they have coming in. But I mean, they're not actually telling you how to be successful, how to make better choices in life, and how to live better. But I mean, people buy the music because it's got a good beat, and the shit that people say, I don't know. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'm going to put a pin in today's show. I really appreciate you guys coming to the podcast. I'm going to go ahead and sign out of TikTok first. So, Brad, I'll see you tomorrow. We are live every night, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific. So feel free to come back tomorrow because as soon as we figure out what's going on with this flaked out situation, we'll long as we're not talking about politics, I'm probably not going to have a blackout like I did in the show today. But either way, I'm going to double check to make sure everything's working well. So ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking y'all to make it make sense. So ladies, make it make sense. And as I sign out of TikTok, I want to thank the rest of you guys for following us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and all of these other areas. I really appreciate you guys showing us support. I appreciate you guys coming to the podcast and following us as much as you possibly could. It does make us feel valuable that you guys want to hear our opinions and listen to what we talk about, and like shoot the breeze, because I mean it is what it is. Actually, we almost crossed over. I needed just 8 more comments. We could have crossed over a milestone with the quantity of comments that we had today. So I really appreciate you guys putting your 2 cents in, because it's always valued and it's always warranted. We don't have to agree. We just have to enjoy ourselves, sharing our thoughts and opinions in open forum, open-minded podcast. So with that being said, thank you guys for coming to This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sander, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night.